do it. Take the action, whatever path that may be, whether it's investing with an operator, whether it's doing something yourself, whether it's whatever path makes sense for you. But action will always beat inaction. As long as you take a step forward, that starts to show you the path, and then you can then pivot from there. But you're never going to figure out that long-term path without taking that first step.
Welcome to the Contrarian Capitalist Podcast, the ultimate destination for accredited investors and entrepreneurs seeking alternative wealth building strategies. Discover how to fast track your journey to wealth and time freedom by thinking outside the box. If you're ready to join the ranks of the Contrarian Capitalists and learn the most effective ways to reach your financial goals faster, you're in the right place. Let's get started with today's episode of the Contrarian Capitalist Podcast.
Thank you for joining another episode of the Contrarian Capitalist Podcast. It is I, your favorite Silverback Sylvania Harrod. And on today's episode, I wanted to bring you somebody. If you know me, you listen to any episodes, you know when it comes to my military brethren, I have a serious man crush on anybody who is a soft operator or anything there, because me being support, you admire the level of commitment and gifts that they have. And they're just grade A humans, unless we're talking about SEALs. Those guys can be D-backs. But I'll leave that alone for any of my SEAL buddies out there. But just wanted to bring you the real tea, as we do in our series of The Ugly Truth, where we interview experts who are out there and can tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly that happens to be out there, and not just the regular social media crap that we see go across. And so in today's episode, I got my friend Zander. So Zander, if you don't mind, welcome to the show, man. Introduce yourself.
Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it. So I grew up in New Hampshire originally. Joined the military after college at ROTC. I studied chemical engineering and never did anything with that degree. It wasn't quite a chemical engineering role in the Army. So I came as a paratrooper, worked for 82nd Airborne for a while, and then was able to transition over to 3rd Special Forces Group. Was the sport for them. Leading their signal detachment. All the while that I was in, I always knew I was, wanted to be entrepreneurial, wanted to start a business. I had the attraction to the military and wanted to do that as a piece of my life, but didn't want to do the career. So I did my time there, but while I was in, I started building business and educating myself as much as I could. And I came across real estate initially just as an alternative investment, something outside the stock market, just to get some diversification and do something different. But after I did the first house, I just caught the bug. I saw the power of it. When I get into something, I fully deep dive in. So I had the idea of real estate. I went and read 30 different books. I did online courses. I listened to every podcast I could find. And I found the power that real estate can provide through leverage, through growth, through cash flow, through tax benefits, through all of these different value creators. So my first house was a $45,000 single family house out in Oklahoma City at a $9,000 down payment. And the tenant was paying like $350 a month.
Me too, man. $33,000 was my first one, man.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And so it just started scaling it up. Did every deal larger than the last. I moved up into house flipping and then multifamily rehabs. My goal was always to build a stable cash flowing portfolio that could support, a lifestyle of freedom and adventure, and have a baseline to go do other businesses off of or grow that business more. So that's always been the goal, of build stable, long-term cash flowing properties. I moved up through the multifamily space, always doing larger and larger deals. We would do the traditional Burr style of buy something that's really ugly, really distressed, do full renovations, put in professional management, and then do cash out refinances, take the money, roll to the next deal. That strategy tapped out once we got to a certain size. We built up about 150 units market in New Hampshire where I grew up, 3 different buildings, and this was around the time where COVID was happening. We rode the wave of appreciation up. We made huge equity growth. But when interest rates came down, when interest rates came up, all of a sudden the market got really, really competitive and numbers just didn't make sense anymore. And, I'm always looking for something that I can optimize. I've got that engineering mindset.
100%.
I didn't see that opportunity for real exponential growth. We were only growing kind of linearly. So just before this period, as I was getting out of the military, I moved out to Hawaii, worked for a large real estate developer out there. The goal was, work for them for a year or two and just learn, get as much experience as I can working for the big guys and seeing how they do it so I can then replicate it. So fantastic experience. Also, we were doing everything from high-rise development to industrial subdivisions. I did a cemetery development. All kinds.
That's the first time I've ever heard that one, man.
I'd say it was unique. But interestingly, they got some pretty good returns. So, but yeah, all kinds of different projects, which was the best experience I could have had because I got to see all of these different financing strategies and asset strategies and development strategies to help me craft what we were going to focus on. So moved through the multifamily space. We were after the Burr style didn't make sense anymore. We started doing development and new construction, and about 2 years ago now, we just kind of got to this tipping point of like, okay, this multifamily world doesn't quite make sense. What can we do different? What can we do smarter? And we did this big, giant deep dive across all different asset classes and analyzed, okay, what do the markets look like? What are the returns? Where's their opportunity? And we came across this niche of RV and glamping resorts, and specifically near national parks and other major destinations. We looked at mobile home and self-storage, where over the last 10 years, this huge wave of institutional interest came in and started rolling up all of those properties, and they got super, super competitive and prices skyrocketed. And what we found was we're at just the beginning of that in this RV space. But what we're able to do now is go into an industry where 90% of the properties or 88% of the properties are still owned by small mom and pops.
Wow.
Oftentimes they just don't have professional systems like a professional operator would. Maybe they're not using dynamic pricing. Maybe they don't have a good website. Maybe they're not maximizing social media. Maybe they're not listed on every single booking platform. Just simple things like that. Maybe their amenities are a little outdated. So those are the kind of properties that we target. And we come in with those, we call them like easy value add pieces, where we come in and we know day one we can put an exceptional website in there. We can do a big influencer marketing campaign and get a whole bunch of travel influencers to come and boost our resort. So we can kick off the revenue right off the bat. So that's the kind of property that we're rolling up. We're both developing them from the ground up, and we're buying value add ones that we can roll up together and get a big value boost from that.
We didn't speak about this yet, but did you know I'm a big glamper?
I didn't.
Yeah. So so funny enough, so my wife, her family has gone to the same campground for a period of time. They have a travel trailer that's set up. Her family has been there for like 40 something years. So when they first asked me, so when I first met her 15 plus years ago, they were like, hey, do you want to go camping? And I'm like, you want me to pay to pretend to be homeless on purpose? No chance. Like, I am not willingly pay somebody to be like, oh, let's go sleep outside on fun. Like, no, I'm not paying somebody to pretend.
Done that enough already, yeah.
That is already experience going to the field. You're sitting there and I'm like, I ain't doing that, man. So, but then when I realized her family had camper, I'm like, whoa, hang on a second. This is a motel on wheels, baby. Like we can sit down and I can actually like sleep and I can poop in a regular place, like I can shower, I can cook food, like I got AC when it's hot because I don't like the heat. So like hearing those things, I go and I'm like, yeah, it's pretty interesting because like I was new to the camper community 15 years ago. Now I'm so used to going to campgrounds in different ways and realizing just how nice people are. Like there's like this natural community of people that like, if you're struggling to back in, you got professional truck drivers. I'm like, just back this up, dog. Like if it's not pull through or anything, because got the wife yelling, kids doing things. So people, it was amazing seeing how people come together as communities in different ways, and then seeing even more of the glamp grounds that are being structured like down in Zion, like you go to Zion, you're like, hold up, I can be under the stars and see these type of items. And it was just kind of like we were joking before about I live in the last frontier of Virginia. Yeah, but the ability to go to these places, especially around national parks. So like I went to, I always mess up the name of the national park in Northern California. Because my wife watches Yellowstone so much. that like I always forget it, so I have to look up like where it is in California, you know. But that is something that I thoroughly enjoy. Yosemite. Yellowstone, Yosemite it always confuses me. But like it's just amazing like how many people enjoy those things. Look at the glamp grounds that pop up around certain festivals, you know. So it's not the day of like pitching a tent and just laying there. There's so many cool experiences you can have. And then as a family, it's just like there's something valuable about caveman TV. So I call caveman TV is like you're sitting around a cylinder watching fire happen and you're just there in nature. And it's phenomenal, from activities to bobbing for apples to Halloween weekends. You know, like it gets legit. So yeah, we have a 38-foot travel trailer. It stays permanently parked, which is so much better because like I got a real grill and all kind of stuff happening there. But like, yeah, so the weekends in the summer, that's what we go do. And I just like now with Starlink Mobile, it's so amazing because I'm like, if I actually gotta work, I'm not walking around my phone trying to figure out things. All I need is line of sight, Starlink. I'm good. I can video call. I can do everything as normal, and then I can disconnect and do what I need to do, man. So what was the thing that made you, because I know during COVID, like campgrounds went insane, like as far as opportunities and people, like I had dealers calling me asking for our unit because we bought it in 2019 and they're like, we can sell this for almost double because we can't get inventory. But we were like, nah, we're good. We actually use it. But yeah, what was the thing that really, like, why campgrounds and RV parks? You know, you explained it a little bit before, but I want to know, like, what was the tipping point that you go like, damn, this is a great opportunity?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a couple of reasons there. I mean, one of the big ones was my personal interest. You know, I love the outdoors and nature. That's where I get my fulfillment, my peace and happiness. You know, I grew up in rural New Hampshire. I was always outside. My mom would, you know, Saturday morning, would kick us out of the house at first thing in the morning. Say, all right, don't come back till dinner. Like, you're not allowed inside. So, you know, it's a personal love of mine. And I feel very fortunate to have found a real estate asset class that is also something that I'm deeply passionate about. I love real estate, and I'd love anything within real estate, but particularly being able to bring people these outdoor experiences is a really amazing opportunity. With some of the reviews that we've seen, we've got my main business partner. He's got a couple up in northern Arizona with a fire pit and a tiny home just out in the desert, and the reviews on that are people saying, "Wow, I sat under the fire and watch the stars, and I've never had a campfire before. I've never seen the stars like that before." And you know, I grew up with that, so I guess I take it for granted, but it's pretty incredible to imagine being able to provide that experience to somebody that's never had that, and what a magical feeling that is.
Yeah,
that's on the emotional side. I think on the the market side, we saw just the market fundamentals in that space. A huge opportunity with lack of institutional groups, lack of professionalism, and the ability for us to take the same strategies that work really well in multifamily and go apply that to this industry where there isn't any competition, where we can go find deals that have really, really high cash flow, like 2 or 3 times what we were finding in multifamily, and come in and create a huge amount of value. Another easy one, and the last thing I'll throw in, is as a development company, that's always what we looked at is, okay, how can we build and create more value on top of just improving operations? Any other piece of real estate that you want to build a building, a warehouse, a self-storage, you're doing really heavy construction, you're doing foundation and expensive structures. Glamping is the least expensive type of construction you can do. We can go add RV pads, which are effectively just parking spots with utilities. And if we want to have it be a glamping unit, we can buy off the shelf tiny homes, Airstream trailers, yurts, tents, teepees, anything like that. And now this industry is starting to grow, and there's a lot of manufacturers that produce those. So we can, and we set up in-house construction to be able to do this more efficiently. So we'll go into these properties and not just improve the operations, but we can also come in with our crews and expand the properties. So now, 100 pad RV park can turn into 200 pads for a really low cost, but now we've doubled our revenue. So a lot of different major opportunities there.
I love everything you're saying, because one of the things we were joking about prior to getting on the call was that there has to be meaning associated with what you're doing, because if there's no meaning, anything will turn into a chore at some period of time. If you don't have any meaning and purpose. And I think that I'm referring to it as the trust economy, where it's hey, we spend over the last 5 years, everybody has differences of opinion about the shutdown and everything that occurred and COVID and what it is or what it isn't. But the same thing happened where you watched as on a marketing channel, people started like quadrupling down on like marketing ideas and concepts. We're now moving to a space where people are getting to the point where they go, hang on, does this person seem authentic in what they're sharing and what they're doing? And so there's a natural heightened level of skepticism of whatever's occurring. I mean, on today, the market's down, tariffs are happening, things are occurring. But I think it's phenomenal hearing the things that you were sharing. Because like I connected with you on LinkedIn because I'm like, this dude gets it. Like he's out there walking barefoot, doing some crazy shit. I don't even know where you were. Like as you were going out, like I have no doubts. Like you got a campfire behind you. Like this guy seems like an outdoor guy, you know? So it's like, I don't get a feel that there's anything else. So like just knowing those kind of elements and watching the synchronicity between that and the experience you're helping people create. Like I remember the first time, and I tell people, I was out in Crestone, Colorado, and it was the first time I ever saw the end of a rainbow. That joint landed right at the end of the stairs of the resort we were staying at. And there's two things that happened. One, I was just amazed. I'm like, is that really the end of it? And two, there was no damn pot of gold. I'm like, I've been lied to my entire life. All the time. And the crazy part was this was a retreat where like you just left your devices off for a week. So I couldn't take pictures. So the only pictures I had was with my eyes. But I remember seeing the stars. And seeing the stars with zero light pollution at 10,000 feet elevation was incredible because it just looked like it was like a disco ball in the sky. And you go and you're like, this is what people look at every single day, you know, like, especially when you're used to light pollution and those kind of experiences. And then if we get to like the tactical thing of being like, how much more do you feel like the vigor to want to go take action and do things? And so I just think it's amazing, man, like hearing those kind of things. So I'm curious of like, what's one of the wildest stories you've had when you've gone glamping or things going there? Like, I'm just curious of that element because it's like on a lot of your posts, I'm like, man, that dude's outdoors. He's having fun, you know?
The most interesting, yeah, there's a lot to choose from here. I like to do the extreme stuff, so I always go to the crazy things. So
yeah,
the one that's popping out in my head right now, I was down in Guatemala last year, and there's a volcano called Fuego and Nakatanango. It's two volcanoes right next to each other, and you hike up. It's about a 7,000 foot elevation gain for the hike, which is it's a cruise.
Oh yeah,
and so we hiked all the way up. And the Acatenango is a dormant volcano, so it's basically just a mountain. But Fuego, which is right next to it, and there's a small saddle between, so you get up to the top of one and you can jump over to the other. Fuego explodes every 20 minutes. And when I say explodes, I mean like a bomb goes off of lava and it shoots 1,000 feet in the air. And then you can watch this giant lava cloud happen and then the lava rolling down the hill for minutes because it's such a large thing. And I did not know that was a thing that Mother Nature did.
I'm looking at it right now. This is amazing.
And I don't know, like, yeah, we see pictures of Yosemite and Yellowstone and all these things. Like, how is this not like known so widely? And so we hiked up there, got there in the evening, just as the sun was setting, watched the sun setting. And because we were at such elevation, the clouds were a couple thousand feet below us. So we were just sitting on these little tops of the volcanoes poking out above the sea of clouds below us, with the sun setting, with this volcano exploding. And it was just the most unreal experience I've ever had. We went back over to Acatenango to sleep for the night, and I did not sleep a bit because there was an exploding volcano right next to me. But it was like one of my favorite nights ever because I just sat there. It was a full moon, still all above the clouds, so everything was lit up. And then every 20 or 30 minutes, you get this insane eruption, and at night you see the big spray of lava everywhere. And then about 3 a.m, we started hiking up Acatenango to summit that for sunrise. And then again up there, we're watching the sunrise over the sea of clouds, the volcanoes exploding, and the winds kicked up, and we had like 80-mile-an-hour winds, and it was just Mother Nature at its extreme. We're huddling against some boulders, trying to not get pelted with rocks from the wind. And it was you're feeling the extreme power of nature, and it was just an incredible experience.
Yeah, man, that's incredible. We're going for spring break. We're going to the beach down in Cocoa Beach, Florida, and one of the things I tell people that I love is the ocean waves and currents, because it makes you understand, one, how small you are, and you have a different level of respect when you're just like, something that sustains us in life also is a thing that can take you out in a second. And so there's this humbling experience of just like this mutual level of respect in this sport of business, where you just go like, yeah, it's the same thing. Business can chew you in, spit you out, and go through that. And I just think it's so cool hearing that story, because I'd never heard of this place before. You know, like I'm looking it up here, and I'm like looking at the different guide of what's happening. I'm like, wow, that's definitely an experience I want to put in the database. You know, like, because
Absolutely.
I think the depth of the sound of volcanoes and the vibration that's created from volcanoes are so the only volcano I've been to was in Nicaragua, and so like you go through, and it wasn't as active as this one, but you could see where it was active a few years before. I think it's active like once every 10 years, and so you can just, as you're going up, and you smell the sulfur because of all the eruptions that had happened on all the side land, and gone through things, and vegetation's coming through. And I just remember like, oh, that would be super cool, but you can feel the vibration of that's what's occurring there, man. So like, no, it's cool stuff. So I got a question for you. One of the things that typically when I have DMs or people from the audience that ask is, I like to help create a blueprint so they can understand like dollars and cents. So like if somebody wanted to be involved, because I believe you have a fund that's set up that people can like invest into. And everybody knows I'm a super fan of fund versus syndications, because I just like having my stuff distributed kind of across multiple assets. If I were to go ahead and bring, like, just from a tactical perspective, if I bring $100,000, because 100 is easy math to do it, like what should I look at as far as returns or things going there, and how long's the hold? And those are some of the questions that they naturally ask me.
Sure. Yeah, I'll give a real quick rundown on what our fund is. So with the whole goal of creating passive income and financial freedom, our fund is called the Real Freedom Fund. That's real estate creating real freedom, which is freedom of time, money, location, and purpose.
As a marketer, I love that, man. I love that. Yeah.
So that is our fund. We're buying 15 RV and glamping resorts, all value add, are all near national parks or other major destination areas. We're buying these properties with those easy value add pieces that we know we can boost revenue. We'll expand them, and then we'll bundle all 15 together into a large portfolio with professional management that's just cranking out cash flow. So it's a cash flow focused fund. So we kick out monthly distributions. And then we are an infinite hold model, because we want to create that passive income in perpetuity. The way we return capital, because we don't want to ask anyone to commit their money forever, is within the first several years, we'll do a cash out refinance after we've added all the value. That way we can return all invested capital. But then you keep your shares and keep getting your monthly distributions in perpetuity. If we ever sell the portfolio, you'd get a profit share on that. So specific numbers. Right now, we're projecting between 8 and 12% cash flow return over the first 5 years. So you invest $100,000, you could expect between $8,000 and $12,000 a year paid monthly for the first 5 years. Then you'd get your $100,000 back, and then you'd continue getting about $8,000 a year, because we have a little bit more debt after the refi, so it would go down a touch. You get $8,000 a year, and then it grows as revenue increases, but in perpetuity. On top of that, our the depreciation on these is about double what you see in other real estate. So if you invest $100,000, you could expect between a $40,000 and a $60,000 tax loss in the first year. If you don't use that rolls to future years. And the favorite perk is, if you invest, you get to stay at the resorts for free for 7 nights a year, half off after that, and you get 10 buddy passes to give to friends and family, because that way you can enjoy the thing that you're actually investing in.
Yeah, dude, that's amazing. Just thinking of that structure, you've hit a couple different hot buttons that I'd like to look at, which is, not only do I want to have tax advantages, because according to the IRS, I am a stay-at-home dad who's living off my wife's teacher salary, and I want to keep it that way for eternity.
This is public, right?
I'm joking. If they catch me on this, it's okay. I made that whole situation up.
It's all. I mean, depreciation's legit. It's a real thing.
It's a real thing. It's a real thing. Like, we have a president in office who fundamentally unds depreciation, and they release tax returns, and you see how it goes. Like, that's the secret that I tell people. Like, real estate is a fundamental like wealth preservation tool.
Absolutely.
Like wealth generation you're going to use in business, wealth preservation you use in acquiring assets that depreciate. We're helping create experience for other people's families.
Absolutely.
So no, I love that model, because what it affords you the opportunity to do is not only have cash today, cash tomorrow, and then cash long term. And so it's a repeatable process that you're able to pour things into that is going to help unlock your freedom. Because over time, like, if you just think about that, like, you go ahead, you have a great year, you get a bunch of RSUs. As those RSUs mature, you're going to pay a bunch of taxes on those RSUs. How about you put that in motion? Because that was money you weren't even thinking about in the first place. You can take that money, park it into these assets, and then watch those assets consistently be able to kick off for you long term. Because there's a lot of people I know that are loving what they're doing. But if you imagine if you just contributed a small amount, $100,000 this year, how much more in assets can you build up over a 10-year run? While thinking of the depreciation you're able to gain yourself, because on most of your commissions you're getting taxed at almost 50%.
Yep.
Like the moment that commission hits quarterly. So I think it's a good strategy. The one thing that I do find, like, to land the plane, is that there are some individuals who have the cash flow. They have the cash to put in assets, but they've been spending like 2 or 3 years just like researching and studying and suffering from paralysis by analysis. So if you were to mention to that person, because you did make the jump, you did start going after these, you even started pivoting from looking at these different assets as you've grown and matured over time, what would the one piece of advice you would say to that investor who's just sitting on the fence with like just watching money burn in their bank account? What would you say?
Yeah. It is going to be a simple one, but it's just do it. Take the action, whatever path that may be, whether it's investing with an operator, whether it's doing something yourself, whether it's, whatever path makes sense for you, but action will always beat inaction. And, with an investment, as long as you're going with a good operator with a strong track record and a strong model and everything, it's, especially with a fund where you have some diversification, it is difficult to go wrong. If you're doing something on your own, no matter what, it's as long as you take a step forward, that starts to show you the path, and then you can then pivot from there. But you're never going to figure out that long-term path without taking that first step. So anybody that I talk to that asks me, how have you done it? How should I do it? How do I grow? It's just taking a step, and you're not going to know what that right step is, but it only matters that you take the step, because that's going to teach you, and then you can continue to learn from there.
Nice, man. No, I definitely love it. So how can people connect with you? And like, if they're interested in what you're doing, want to have conversations, I know you're on LinkedIn. That's, I would say, please follow his stuff like on LinkedIn, because like, he's got some great stories and just seems like a kick-ass person to hang out with. So how can they connect with you?
I appreciate that. Yeah. So easiest would be my email. So it's Zander with a Z, Kempf, Kempf, or excuse me, just Zander at clearsummitinvest.com. Forgot my own email.
Don't ask for my phone number, man. I forgot. Yeah.
Our website is clearsummitinvestments.com. And then you can also hit me on LinkedIn. We're on there pretty actively.
Perfect.
So, and would be happy to chat with anybody interested. We are open right now for investment partners, and we've got a plethora of fantastic deals going on here that we're really, really excited about. So we're full speed ahead right now.
No, man, I love it. So it was great connecting with you. Thanks for this opportunity. Like, you're the first person I've talked to in the glamping space, and I love I just love that area, because it's just something that I've had great memories at. Love me a little s'mores action, and then also being out in nature. I just don't really like when a lot of nature is out in nature, because like the bugs just love. I just start getting mosquito bites like crazy, bro.
Fair enough.
But great connecting with you. Everybody who's watching this episode, as you know, as always, stay hungry, stay grateful. I hope you really enjoyed this episode. Cheers, everybody.